Driving environment. The objective of this lecture is to know the different environments of driving, like night, fog, storm, rain, and the effective ways to deal with them to stay safe on the road. The key modules of this lecture are night driving, fog and storm, rain and flood, different times of the day, natural forces acting on all types of vehicles. Let's discuss how to drive safely at night. Night driving is another aspect of driving which is more challenging than driving during the day. It demands more focus, special techniques, and precautions. One of the obvious reasons is the absence of natural daylight. It is important to understand that 90% of drivers' reaction depends on vision, and vision is severely limited at nighttime. During the daytime, drivers can see and feel objects in their central and peripheral vision respectively, owing to the availability of sunlight. At night, the driver's vision is restricted due to the unavailability of natural light source, and they totally depend on vehicle headlights and streetlights for visibility. Due to less visibility, the likelihood of both fatal and minor crashes are higher at night for every road user. However, this risk is much higher for novice or young drivers. Now let's discuss how the visual system works and eyes see at nighttime. Our eyes help us to see in an incredibly wide range of lighting conditions as different parts of the eyes work together. The vision is made possible by three parts of the eye: the pupil, rod and cone cells, photopigments. The pupil. The eye is similar in many ways to the camera. The camera's aperture is the part that shrinks or enlarges to let in light in a controlled way. The pupil does a similar function. It will get very small in bright light to physically block the excess amount of light from reaching the retina, and will open wide in the darkness. Rod and cone cells. Our eyes use two different types of cells to see the light. They are rods, cones. The cone cells perceive fine details and colors, but need bright light in order to do so. It is called photopic vision. Rod cells can only see black and have poor resolution, but remain sensitive even in very low light. It is called scotopic vision. Mesoscopic vision occurs in intermediate lighting conditions and is effectively a combination of scotopic and photopic vision. Photopigments. Both rods and cones contain light-sensitive chemicals called photopigments. When exposed to light, photopigments go through a chemical reaction that converts light energy to the electrical activity which our brain knows how to interpret. Rhodopsin, the photopigment used by the rods, is the key to night vision. Colors affecting visibility. Primarily, the human eye can adapt to varying light conditions as it has the ability to adjust to various levels of darkness and light. The two types of visual adaptations are light adaptation, dark adaptation. Light adaptation occurs when we move from the dark into the bright light. It takes approximately 5 to 7 minutes for the eye to adapt to bright sunlight from darkness. Dark adaptation occurs when going from a well-lit area into a dark area. For example, when we enter a very dimly lit room, soon after being out on a bright sunny day, we're hardly able to see our surroundings at first. But as time goes by, we gradually become able to see the things in the room. The eye takes approximately 20 to 30 minutes to fully adapt from bright sunlight to complete darkness. It is much faster for our eyes to adapt to bright light than to adjust to darkness. For this reason, at night, motorists are unable to see the objects or other road users that are in dark color. Therefore, other road users, especially cyclists and motorcyclists, should wear a brightly colored helmet and fluorescent clothing or strips. They can also use dipped headlights, even in good daylight, to make themselves more noticeable. Factors that increase the risk of driving at night. Apart from visibility, there are many other factors that increase the risk of driving at night. They include depth perception, color recognition, and peripheral vision are compromised after sundown, less ability to judge speed and distance. Vulnerable road users, such as pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists, are often not clearly visible to the motorists. There are more fatigued drivers on the road after a hectic day of work. less time and space to react as the vehicle lighting cannot illuminate far enough, increased distraction as often night driving is for recreational purposes. How to drive responsibly at night. Now let's see how to drive responsibly at nighttime. There is much that drivers and riders can do to minimize the after-dark dangers. Some of the effective measures include eye adaptation, use light smartly, avoid bright lights, back off, scan and be alert. Eye adaptation. The most obvious danger of night driving is decreased visibility. So take steps to speed up the process of adapting to darkness. Before going into the dark area and risking bumping into something, close the eyes and cover them for a while to let them adapt to darkness. Also, applying slight pressure on the eyes with the palms can help speed up the adjustment process. Remember, the interior or dash lights on maximum can compromise the forward vision. Avoid interior lights while driving and keep dashboard lights at dim for better outside visibility. Use light smartly. Vehicles' lights are there for drivers' safety and for those around them. It is illegal to drive at night without fully functional front and rear lights. Drivers should also check and ensure that all lights on the vehicle are in full working order, kept cleaned, and aimed in the right direction before starting the journey. In fact, it is a good idea to get in the habit of keeping the headlights on often. Important rule: you must use the lights for your vehicle from sunset until sunrise, as well as during the day where the view is unclear. The lights must be on the front and rear of the vehicle. Article 63, Executive Bylaw, UAE Federal Traffic Law No. 21, 1995. Moreover, during bad weather, consider using lights regardless of the time of day. Thunderstorms, for example, can bring in dark clouds that turn the sky almost as dark as night. Drivers may use the headlights on high beam mode to see further ahead, only when, on freeways without lampposts, view is not clear enough. High beams can dazzle other drivers, so it is better to dip to low beam when there is an oncoming vehicle on a two-way road or when approaching another vehicle from behind on a one-way road. Avoid bright lights. A bright light can greatly increase the amount of time the eyes need to adjust to darkness. Therefore, when driving at night, the drivers should avoid looking directly at the beams coming towards them. Instead, they should look to the right side of the road and drive towards the right of the lane to stay on course. If drivers are being dazzled by the lights of a vehicle behind, they should use the day and night or anti-glare positions of the interior mirror. The night position reduces the glare from headlamps of vehicles behind. Drivers may flip the tab on the bottom edge of the mirror to select the day or night mode. In modern vehicles, night mirrors can be used to reduce the possibility of being dazzled by the lights of the vehicle behind. Back off. In darkness, it is harder to judge the speed and distance of the vehicles. The objects can be closer than they appear or traveling faster than anticipated. Moreover, drivers should prepare themselves for any unexpected challenge. Therefore, they should back off, which means drive at a speed that allows them to spot hazards and react accordingly. Maintain a safe following distance that is double compared to daytime. That is, the safe following distance should be 4 seconds instead of 2 seconds for light motor vehicles, 6 seconds instead of 3 seconds for motorcycles, 8 seconds instead of 4 seconds for heavy vehicles. Scan and be alert. The best way to avoid an accident at night is to be watching for lights and movements. Motorists can stay alert by checking mirrors regularly to be aware of the surroundings. At night, it is more important to scan for other road users' mistakes than having to worry about your own. One way to scan better and staying alert is by ensuring that the windshield and mirrors are clean. Windshields that appear clean during the day may reveal streaks that can cause glare at night. Motorcyclists also need to make sure that their visor is clean and scratch-free. Similarly, dirty mirrors reflect the lights from vehicles behind in a wider, diffused manner that can cause glare in the eyes. Therefore, drivers must make sure that the mirrors are clean and are adjusted in the direction that will make it easier for them to see. Always follow the rules and regulations and scan the road actively to anticipate the mistakes of other road users. Fog and sandstorm. In this module, you'll learn how to drive safely in fog and sandstorm. Fog is like a cloud that forms on the surface of the Earth, made of tiny water droplets suspended in the air. In general, fog is formed whenever there is a difference between the temperature of the air and the ground. That is when warm or moist air passes over a cool surface. Fog can be patchy, dense, or light. Fog can be one of the most dangerous weather conditions for both novice and experienced drivers. Fog has the potential to reduce visibility significantly, so it can cause drivers to lose focus on the road. It can lead to a pile-up accident where many vehicles crash into one another, causing injuries and fatalities. Tips for driving safely in fog. It is always advisable to check the weather forecast before you start your journey. In case of a fog warning, delay your journey until it clears. Fog is usual in the cooler months. If you happen to come across fog while driving, you need to know the do's and don'ts to follow in order to drive or ride safely. Let's first see what the do's are. Use low beam headlights, as high beam reflects off the moisture droplets in the fog, making it harder to see. If the vehicle is equipped with fog lights, use them in addition to the low beam. Keep the windows clean. Use the defroster and wipers to increase the vision. Motorcyclists are advised to keep their visors clean. Drive at a speed that suits the conditions. Increase the safe separation distance. Use pavement markings as a guidance on the road. Consider right edge rather than a center line. Be patient and avoid unnecessary lane changing, passing, and crossing traffic. Watch out for electronically operated warning signs and obey them. Unwind the windows slightly to listen to traffic or hazards if visibility is low. Reduce any possible distraction by turning the radio down or turning off the cell phone to keep your full attention on the road. Remember, if the fog is too dense to continue, pull completely off the road and try to position your vehicle in a safe parking area. Turn on the hazard lights in addition to keeping on your low beam headlights. The list of don'ts are: do not activate hazard lights to warn others about the fog. Use it only in an emergency, as they are designed to warn other motorists that the vehicle is stopped completely or there is a road hazard ahead. Don't stop on the traveled portion of the road, as you could make the first link in a chain reaction collision. Don't increase the speed suddenly, even if the fog seems to be clear, as the fog could be in patches and could come back suddenly. Don't overtake slow-moving vehicles unnecessarily. Don't continue driving if the fog is too dense. Visibility and speed. Studies show that motorists choose to drive at speeds at which they are incapable of stopping to avoid obstacles in the roadway, even if they were to identify and react to the obstacles immediately at the border of visibility distance. If motorists drive faster than visibility permits, severe multiple vehicle crashes could occur. Motorists should slow down more than they would on their own when driving in fog. If the road has a variable message sign which displays the speed limit, motorists must follow that, as it is a dynamic speed limit based on the available visibility. Remember, always watch your speed. You may be traveling faster than you think. If so, reduce the speed gradually. Driving in sandstorm. Sandstorm arises when the wind is fast enough to lift the top layer of sand from the ground and push it in every possible direction. It usually occurs near sandy or desert areas. Just like in fog, driving in sandstorm is also another dangerous action on the road. Sandstorm affects all motor vehicles and makes safe driving difficult, as it decreases visibility due to sand in the air or on the windscreen, affects vehicle or bike control due to wind or cross pressure, reduces the tire grip due to the sand on the road, hide road markings due to the sand accumulation on the road. Due to all these problems, it increases the risk of a crash. During a sandstorm, it is better to avoid driving. Look for a safe place to pull completely off the paved portion of the roadway and apply the handbrake. Turn off all the lights, including hazard lights, in order not to confuse or misguide other vehicles approaching from behind. It is advisable to stay in the vehicle with the seatbelt buckled and wait for the storm to pass. Motorcycle riders should consider this extremely, as it affects their ability to ride safely. If you face a sandstorm while driving, the safety rules and tips to be followed are: use headlights to see and be seen by others. Keep windows up and vents closed. Keep a firm grip on the steering wheel with both the hands. Drive at a speed that suits the conditions. Maintain the circle of safety around your vehicle. Be patient and avoid unnecessary lane changing, passing, or crossing traffic. Watch and obey any electronically operated warning signs. Reduce any possible distraction by turning the radio down or turning off the cell phone to keep the full attention on the road. The list of don'ts during a sandstorm include: don't use the hazard light while driving through the sandstorm. Don't speed, swerve, or apply a sudden brake. Don't stop the vehicle or motorcycle in the middle of the road. If the view is restricted suddenly, try to move aside. Don't overtake heavy vehicles, especially on open roads. Slippery and sandy roads. Drivers are always advised to read the road well ahead and take the weather condition into consideration. Drivers should observe their mirrors and slow down when they see the road surface is deteriorating. Keep away from soft verges and look out for sand, gravel, or chippings, as they can make the surface very slippery. Report on accident casualties. On the roadway, there are a lot of things that can be controlled, like behavior, speed, distraction, and many others. However, one thing that cannot be controlled is the weather. In bad weather conditions, the roads become more hazardous because it can not only affect the roads but also impacts the driver's operating abilities and the flow of traffic. Even the most experienced and competent drivers should be extra cautious in adverse weather conditions to avoid accidents. According to experts, the adverse weather conditions contribute a lot to increase the road accident casualties. In most of the cases, poor visibility and not adhering to the safety rules during the bad weather condition could lead to a pile-up accident, which may include cars, motorcycles, trucks, buses, and other vehicles. These multiple vehicle collisions are particularly deadly as the mass of crumpled vehicles makes it difficult for the survivors to escape. Even if the survivors can exit, other vehicles may strike them. In a multiple vehicle collision, the individual vehicles are often hit multiple times at high speed, increasing the risk of injuries to passengers who may have survived the first impact. In the meantime, the spilled fuel and oil can catch fire, which can soon engulf the crashed vehicles. Multi-vehicle collisions often result in blocked roadways. Therefore, it's difficult for the fire and rescue vehicles to arrive to the crash site quickly. Another consequence of bad weather like fog and storm is the losing of vehicle control, which often results in a single vehicle crash. This can include accidents like running off the road and colliding with static objects, such as parked vehicles, lamppost, rail guard, and other things. During adverse weather conditions, drivers and riders are advised to pull over to the safe side of the road and wait until the conditions improve. Rain and flood. In this module, you'll learn how to drive safely through rain and flood. Driving in rain. A sudden rain can change the surface of the road and make driving very dangerous. This weather condition can significantly increase the risk of a crash. Records have proven that the ratio of accidents is much higher during rains as compared to normal weather conditions. This is because many people do not change their driving habits on wet road. According to Generic News, a rain spell leads to an accident every 2 minutes. The first rain after a long dry period makes the road surface slippery as water mixes with oil and dirt on the road that has not been washed away. Until further rain washes the oil and dirt away, skidding may occur. This layer of oil and wet dirt creates a slippery layer on the surface of the road, making it significantly hazardous. Apart from making the road slippery, rain also brings forth more hazards, such as poor visibility, lesser tire traction, aquaplaning, increased braking distance. Visibility. Rain affects the driver's visibility to see through the vehicle's windshield. It also reduces the driver's or rider's perception. This is because the rainwater acts like a lens which depresses the light so that much of it is reflected in different directions. As a result, the visibility reduces and the road markings also become almost invisible to the road users. Therefore, while driving in rain, consider the following tips to help improve the visibility. Before it starts to rain, replace old or brittle wiper blades. Use the various speeds of the windshield wipers to help remove the amount of water that's hitting the windscreen. Turn on the headlights in low beam for better visibility and to be seen by others. Drive slowly. Be more alert, watching for brake lights in the front. Avoid following heavy vehicles like trucks and buses too closely, because the spray created by their large tires can reduce the visibility. Tire traction. Water makes the road slippery, reducing the tire traction. To improve tire traction, motorists should make sure the tires are in good condition and not worn out. Stay away from pools of water that accumulate on the road by driving in a lane where there is less water. If possible, drive in the track of a vehicle ahead, as it would disperse the water. However, make sure to drive with a safe separation distance during the rain. Aquaplaning. Aquaplaning, also known as hydroplaning, is when a layer of water builds up between the wheels of the vehicle and the road surface, causing loss of traction that prevents the vehicle from responding to the driver's control. The grooves in the tread pattern of a rubber tire are designed to disperse water from underneath the tire, providing high friction even in wet conditions. But the dispersion of water from under the tire is possible properly only when the vehicle is at low speeds. However, as the speed increases, a wedge of water forms in front of the tire. At high speeds, the tire encounters more water than it can dissipate. Water pressure in front of the wheel forces a wedge of water under the leading edge of the tire, causing it to lift off a little from the road. At this point, the tire loses contact with the road and starts to skate or float on the thin sheet of water, which results in loss of control. During a condition like this, neither the steering movements or the braking forces can be transmitted to the road. If multiple tires aquaplane, the vehicle may lose directional control and slide until it either collides with an obstacle or slows enough that one or more tires contact the road again and traction is regained. The factors that increase the likelihood of aquaplaning are vehicle speed, depth of water on the road, tread pattern and depth, tire pressure. To prevent aquaplaning, motorists should reduce the speed according to the situation and should not increase the speed to more than 80 km per hour. Avoid slamming on the brakes, as it can cause the vehicle to skid, making the brake less effective. Try to stay in the middle lane as far as possible, as water tends to gather in the outside lane first. Never drive through moving water if the ground is not visible, as the vehicle could be swept off the road. Make sure that the tread pattern is proper and its depth is adequate. To maintain the performance potential in wet weather, it is recommended to use the circumferential grooves as it channels water away quickly. The tread depth needs to be at least 4 mm to channel enough water. Maintain the accurate tire pressure in all the tires. Do not use cruise control in wet conditions. How to regain control if the vehicle aquaplanes. First, the motorists should keep themselves calm, and then check mirrors, turn on the hazard lights, grip the wheel firmly and avoid braking or accelerating. Reduce the speed gradually by releasing the accelerator. Once there is a feeling that the vehicle is under control, either brake gently or accelerate gently. Check the mirrors again for other vehicles getting too close. The best thing to do when aquaplaning is not to panic and avoid making any sudden movements. Usually the vehicle will come back under control without any action on the driver's part. Braking distance. Braking distance depends on two factors. 1. Thinking distance. 2. Stopping distance. Both these factors will be affected during the rain. Thinking distance increases as the visibility reduces in the rain. The stopping distance multiplies because there is less friction between the tires and the road. These factors affect the braking distance considerably. For example, at a speed of 60 km per hour in a dry weather condition, the braking distance would be approximately 33 meters before the vehicle comes to a complete stop. But on the other side, if the same vehicle is traveling at the same speed of 60 km an hour in a wet weather condition, the braking distance would be approximately 48 meters. Henceforth, it is advisable to drive slowly in the rain. Double the following distance. For example, in case of light motor vehicles, the required safe following distance of 2 seconds should be increased to 4 seconds. After the rain has stopped, do not speed up, because the wet surface of the road could still increase the braking distance. Point to remember. During adverse weather conditions, always allow extra time for safe travel. Assessing floodwater. Flood occurs when the input of water is greater than what the drainage can take away. Floods usually occur after heavy rains. Floods are inherently dangerous because it can cause serious damage to vehicles or its occupants. In case of heavy rains, flood can occur in valleys as well as in many areas of the city. To be safe, it is best to avoid driving through the flood, particularly on two-wheelers. However, if it is necessary to drive through flood, motorists need to be extra watchful as there might be hidden dangers in the path, like sharp objects or deep holes. Therefore, before driving through flood, it is important to assess the depth of the flood water and be certain that it is safe to do so. Remember, for light motor vehicles, if the flood water is above half the tire height, do not drive through, because the water may enter the exhaust pipe and may cause the engine to stall. Avoid driving through flowing water, even if the water level is below half the tire height, because the force of the water may sweep away the vehicle. When driving through water, engage low gear and drive slowly while maintaining a smooth acceleration. If the vehicle has manual transmission, rev the engine by slipping the clutch to prevent the water from entering the exhaust pipe. All motor vehicles, especially heavy vehicles, should be very careful not to splash water around and soak other motorists or pedestrians. In valleys, commonly known as wadis in this region, the roads have water level markers to assess the depth of floodwater. If the water level has reached the red zone, it is unsafe to cross the road in that area. Passing through thereafter. After driving through a flood, avoid speeding, as the brakes will not be efficient due to moisture. Motorists may step on the brakes repeatedly while still driving slowly to remove the moisture until the efficiency of the brake is restored. After passing through floodwater, even if the vehicle seems fine, it is always a good idea to immediately have the vehicle completely checked up, as many modern vehicles have sensitive electronic components that may malfunction. different times of the day. In this module, we will learn how to drive safely at different times of the day. While driving at different times of the day, like in the glaring sun or in busy areas during peak hours, driving can be more difficult and challenging. Sun glare. Let's first understand what is sun glare. Driving is a passion for many, and generally people love to drive during different times of the day. Driving on a beautiful sunny day can provide stunning scenery, but it can also create a hazard if the driver's view is compromised by a glaring sun. Just after sunrise and before sunset, the sun can shine directly into the driver's eyes, requiring many motorists to deal with the glare. This glare can make it much harder to see the road ahead and to identify potential hazards, creating an added risk to drivers. When sun glare is an issue, slow down and be extra cautious, especially while driving through residential and school areas. To drive safely during a sun glare, motorists should keep the windshield clean, inside and out. Use polarized sunglasses if possible, because these specific glasses can help to reduce the sun glare. Use the sun visor, as it can help to block out the sun. Keep more safe distance to give plenty of time for perception. Use lane markings for guidance when it is hard to see the road. Be aware of the traffic and potential hazards around. Driving in busy areas. Driving in a busy area can also be a challenge for the road users, especially for novice drivers. The frequent stopping and accelerating can cause impatience among road users. This situation can lead some drivers to change the lane suddenly and more frequently without using the indicator or proper communication. Another risk in busy traffic areas is the pedestrians who may suddenly appear from areas obscured by other vehicles. So, whenever possible, the motorists should plan to drive at times when there is less traffic. Use routes that are less busy by listening to the local radio station for traffic updates. Navigate a road without traffic jam. However, if the motorists get stuck in a traffic jam, they should stay calm and be courteous to other road users. Stay alert and always check the blind spots to know the surroundings. Plan well ahead and move into the appropriate lane in time to reach the destination. If the lane is merging, use the zipper principle, allowing the vehicle in the merging lane to enter the open lane one after another. Natural forces acting on all types of vehicles. Natural forces are found everywhere in the universe. These forces are acting on all objects or bodies, either stationary or moving, at all times. We cannot see these forces, but often we can see what they do. Let's see what is a force. A force is a push or a pull that can cause an object to increase its speed, reduce its speed, change its direction, change its shape. The natural forces act on all motor vehicles and affect their handling characteristics. These forces are of two types: balanced forces and unbalanced forces. Balanced forces. In general, if the driving force is equal to the force of air resistance and ground friction, then the vehicle that is already moving will carry on at a steady speed in a straight line. On the other hand, the vehicle that is not moving will stay stationary. Unbalanced forces. If the driving force is greater than the forces of air resistance and ground friction, then the vehicle that is stationary will start moving, and a vehicle that is already moving will speed up. It is important to know and understand the laws of these forces, because if motorists break this or misjudge it, they might have to face dire consequences. There are 3 basic ways that are used to control the motion of a vehicle. They are acceleration, braking, steering. Each of these functions are affected by various forces such as gravity, the force that pulls vehicle towards the center of the earth; driving force, the force that is generated by the engine of the vehicle to move it; friction force, the force of resistance between the vehicle tires and the road; air resistance, the resistance force that acts on the front of the vehicle as it travels through the air; kinetic energy, the energy the vehicle possesses because of its motion; potential energy, the energy the vehicle possesses because of its position; momentum, the force of the moving vehicle; centrifugal force, the tendency of a vehicle to be pulled outward when driving round a curve; inertia, the tendency of a vehicle to resist a change, including all objects or occupants in it. Though there are many other forces, it is important to know these forces, their effects on the vehicle, and the ways to control them. While driving uphill, the force of gravity will work against the vehicle. Motorists can accelerate or select a lower gear to maintain the speed. When going downhill, the force of gravity will cause the vehicle to go faster. Motorists can select a lower gear and, when required, apply the brakes smoothly to control the vehicle while maintaining a safe speed. Friction helps the tire from sliding over the road surface. It increases the traction between the tire and the road surface. Motorists must slow down in slippery areas to maintain the friction and traction between the tire and road surface. The kinetic energy increases with the speed of the vehicle. Motorists can use the vehicle brake system well in advance, according to the road situation, to convert the kinetic energy into heat energy to stop the vehicle safely. When the vehicle is on a bridge or a hill, it has potential energy. Motorists may use the parking brake to maintain the energy. When the vehicle is moving, the vehicle and everything in it has a momentum. Motorists must apply the brake smoothly and shift to a lower gear to dissipate this force. When a sudden brake is applied, the inertia causes the vehicle and everything inside it to move forward. Motorists must use the seat belt and also secure everything inside the vehicle to keep it firm and stopped safely along with the vehicle. Natural forces acting on vehicles may vary depending on weight of the vehicle, height of the vehicle, speed of the vehicle, position of the vehicle. A fast-moving vehicle has a massive amount of kinetic energy and momentum. Motorists can reduce these forces by smooth and gradual braking. If there occurs an accident that causes the vehicle to come to a sudden stop, the force of momentum can create a powerful impact and damage the vehicle and also cause injury to its occupants. However, if the vehicle slows down before hitting the object, or if there is a longer time available for the vehicle to come to a stopping point, the force of momentum will drain out and will have a less forceful impact. As a result, there will be less damage to the vehicle and lesser injuries to the occupants. During an unavoidable crash, motorists may redirect their path towards objects that will cause the vehicle to stop over a greater distance, such as bushes instead of trees, and sand instead of a crash barrier, and avoid hitting a person, another vehicle, or solid immovable objects. Remember, always use vehicle safety features as they absorb the energy during a crash to keep the occupant safe.